Welcome to Dr. Mary Travel Best's Independent Travel Guide. This is an episode for women like you who need a little extra support traveling the world, one woman at a time. This podcast is sponsored by Sun Marketing, doing advertising and marketing in San Diego since 1993. I've been traveling independently since 1992 and soon to release a second guidebook on the travel independent steps. Please share this podcast with your parents, loved ones, and future travelers so you make their trips the very best, like travel best. In this episode, the FAQ is, how can I travel better? I think that travel has a lot of glamour, but I don't find to be accurate when I'm on the road. So what can I do to improve my journey? Today's destination is Dallas, Texas airports. Today's mistake is leaving a sweater on the plane. And the travel advice is read the book Wild. So back to the FAQ, how can I travel better? I think that travel has a lot of glamour. What can I do to improve my journey? It doesn't look like that when I'm on the road. So the answer is Dr. Travel Best. That's me. And, it's more than better. It's best. Travel used to be very glamorous. People used to dress up for the airplane, and it was an exclusive privilege of sorts. Now, some airlines feel more like buses than planes. The idea of travel during COVID has turned a lot of people away from travel. If you're listening to this, you may be considering a trip, and navigating the new rules of travel is on your mind. So you're going to be taking steps 1 through 5 in your travel planning. Start out where you feel comfort, then take the next level. Be patient with yourself and get the experience to feel and see improvements in you. Today's special adventure destination is Dallas, Texas airports. Are you headed to Dallas, Texas by air? I've become somewhat of an expert on the airports at Dallas, Texas. So let me explain. On a recent trip, kind of a nightmare, I made the most of it. In summary, I had a short stopover in Dallas on my way from Atlanta to San Diego and was stranded 2 nights, 3 days. Tens of thousands of us seat holders were left without a promise or a way to figure it out. So I know travel can present challenges anytime. Here are some things that I learned. You can get around in Dallas without a car, which was news to me. So take note. The public transportation was pretty solid and reliable. Plus, it was high quality and low cost. From Fort Worth to DFW, you take Trinity Metro. It's their Tex Rail. And from DFW to Dallas Love Field, it's called DART. The city bus will take you from Love Field to the DART station with a transfer, so you only pay once. These trains are nicely equipped, and the price is really low. And you can use your smartphone app to figure out the schedules, so you'll be pleased you did it. The show notes have links to these websites. If you are an active traveler, you know that not every destination has to be found using a car. You can Uber Lyft to the train station and go the rest of the distance on the train. You can bring your bicycle on the train and ride to your other destination. For example, I took a short Lyft ride from my hotel in Hearst to the North Richland Hills station, which was about 3 miles from the train to the DFW station, another 15 miles, DFW airport. And I made it with no traffic or tolls and a lot of smiles. I was very relaxed. It drops passengers in Terminal B. So you take the free Terminal Link bus to your terminal. Look for the orange signs. If you're headed to DFW from Dallas downtown, the DART arrives and leaves from the A terminal. Again, the orange signs help guide you. So if you're visiting Dallas by air, make sure you know which airport you fly. It's SWA from Dallas Love Field, Southwest. Some airlines fly out of both airports, so be aware. They are connected via DART and a bus that takes about 10 minutes. Why was I stranded in Dallas this time? Well, the news reported that there were several hundred flights canceled on August 1st, and the weather, it was a big storm, it didn't help. It was unexpected. 2 days later, the flights were still canceled. More than 2,000 flights were canceled by all airlines. The worst culprit was Spirit Air, who ironically was celebrating 10 years flying from Dallas. They still haven't sent me a refund for my flight. One small travel error of mine was not canceling my Uber ride to the airport. I had booked the night before. It was going to cost me about $40 for the ride from my hotel. And Uber did charge me $10 because I didn't show up, even though they never sent me a confirmation. And I had booked a different Uber trip at the same time to a different destination, the train station. If I wasn't focused on the airports and getting back home, I am sure that I would have had some great travel adventures to report on in Dallas. That will be a future episode, perhaps. And now for today's mistake: leaving a sweatshirt on the plane. When you get up from your seat, do you always look for items you left behind? I don't always do that. I left a sweatshirt on the plane, and about 30 minutes later, I returned to the gate, asked the agent to see if she could locate it, and about 30 minutes later, it was retrieved. I thanked Cindy from Alaska Airlines, and then she let me take her photo and do a social media post about it. One good thing is that most service workers are really nice and like helping others. So thanks, Cindy. Now for today's travel advice. Read the book Wild. If you haven't read that book, here's a brief summary from author Cheryl Strayed as she went from lost to found on the Pacific Coast Trail. When she heard a sound of unknown origin or felt something fearful in her imagination, she pushed it away. She simply did not let herself become afraid. Fear begets fear. Power begets power. She willed herself to feel power. And it wasn't long before she actually wasn't afraid. That's on page 51. Today, I want to bring meaning to your travel. Send me your travel tip. You can send it to my website, Facebook page, group, Instagram, YouTube. You can send it to my Twitter blog, and maybe you'll see your tips in Dr. Travel Best's Independent Travel Steps, the next book.
What's on your travel bucket list? Tell the doctor and her team of women who travel the world seeking the very best. Dr. Travel Best, that is.